Spins through him out of the 10 to the 5. Skips into the end zone. Touchdown FAU. You gotta be kidding me. Touchdown FAU. Touchdown FAU.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Burrow, the only FAU podcast for and by fans, brought to you by FAUOwlsnest.com. That you just heard was FAU's dominating win against Old Dominion last week. The great Ken LaVicka on the call there. What's up, Owl Nation? We were gone last week, took the week off for the bye week, and now we're back. So we're back with the usual crowd, Shane and Jack. And so I guess we're gonna today we'll talk a little bit about the Old Dominion game. I think taking the week off, we kind of got all the coverage we need, so we won't spend too much time on it. And then we'll dig into the I guess what some people are calling the biggest conference game in FAU Stadium history against two undefeated in conference foes with a lot on the line. So I guess to get started. Talking about Old Dominion, it was quite a game. Final score 56-28. I think we missed a PAT in there. 8 rushing touchdowns, set all sorts of rushing records. Nearly every in-game rushing record we had, it seemed like we broke. But I don't know. What was Jack? What was your kind of big takeaway from the ODU game?
Man, that was really a stamp on FAU proving that they are legit this year, at least at being contenders for the East division title. Just such a great game to watch, great game to cover. We were all happy about it. Something I want to say is Jason Driscoll. I mean, there's no debating anymore. It's his team. Yes, could he be better at throwing the ball downfield? Absolutely. But dude had 4 rushing touchdowns. It's insane. A couple of those were really nifty runs. He tied the program record, which Motor tied a couple weeks ago with 4 rushing touchdowns. Just awesome performance. Awesome performance. We heard a lot of talk from everyone about, Old Dominion's defense. They're all right. Their offense has some playmakers, but they were just shut down every which way. Complete game from FAU. Pretty happy to see that.
Yeah, the credit I want to give most to in this game is obviously, I've said it on this show multiple times, and just how we're going to play all year, and just keep getting used to it, is the defensive backs. They continue just to make plays. My man Chris Tooley, who I just talk up all the time, another interception. This is what they're built to do. They're going to play man coverage. They're going to give up some yards, and they're just going to dare you to throw until, eventually they're just going to be like, they're great athletes, and they're going to force turnovers. Lane, I think there was a quote by Lane talking about the secondary lead in Old Dominion that this secondary can play with anyone, play in any conference in the country.
Yeah.
There's good athletes out there. You're running around, you're 3rd or 4th safeties getting picks, multiple corners. They're deep, they're fast. They play man coverage all game, which just shows a lot of faith in your DBs, and that's just not talk. They're just saying every play. It's mostly one-on-one with a little help from the safeties. It's leading to turnovers. 10 interceptions on the year. It kind of reminds us of that. The Brian Wright year when you had the secondary of Smith and Parms and a young Kervon Blanc, but this one's even deeper. They go a couple deeper than those guys. So it's an amazing unit. And as we were talking about before the show, the O-line, everyone's giving credit to the running backs, but
yeah,
this O-line, knock on wood again, keeps just playing together. They keep getting better. They have a ton of starts between them. Antonio Woods, has, corrected the snapping issues, adjusted to a tough position. But, he has tons of starts underneath him. He's been a staple in our O-line for years now. Reggie Bain, other than last year, is just consistent. Roman Fernandez is a consistent starter. Walton, they've just dominated. They're just physically manhandling people right now.
Yeah, I think
it's not even close.
You bring up a good point that I think we don't really talk about them, which is probably that means that they're doing really well. We don't have to talk about how bad they're doing and have to replace this person here and this person here. It's just that's the offensive line, Yeah, for sure. And it was it got to the point where when you heard Ken Levicka say, "Are you kidding me?" It was just like touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. And it was nice. Again, we've had this for basically all 3 wins, really, to be on the other side of a beatdown, where it was never really that close. I mean, there were some things I liked. Well, there's a lot of things I liked. Seeing Driscoll run, I knew he was mobile, but I think he's kind of showing a different element here. Still, his passing, that one interception that he threw was just like a duck fart that he way overthrew an easy pitch and catch to the tight end, and it easily overthrew him, which is a bit concerning. But at the same time, if they can't stop us running the ball, there's no point in throwing the ball because just keep running it, and they're not going to stop us. So that was pretty fun to see.
It's like how I used to play NCAA, the video game. I just abandoned the forward pass. You don't need it. Just throw in some bubble screens every once in a while to keep everyone honest. With Driscoll, it seems like a good option and an option that could probably work. Shane, I'm going to piggyback off what you said about those DBs. Defensive backs, they are more athletic than that Brian Wright interim year. They're about as athletic, but they are deeper, which is something we haven't had in so long. They've stayed injury-free, except for Jalen every once in a while, just because he's so aggressive. He's always throwing his body around. And they have the same amount of swagger, which is great. And that offensive line, we are so lucky that they've been injury-free. Also, Coach Justice being the only coach that has stayed through the Partridge to Kiffin transition might help with that as well. So it's just great to see some consistency at that offensive line level. And also another thing about the DBs, we are we're second in the nation in interceptions with 10, tied for second. And a lot of that is because of the DBs and their athleticism, but also because the D-line has been able to put pressure on the quarterback, force some risky throws. We saw that a lot against Old Dominion. I mean, their quarterback was 17 years old. It's pretty easy to get him rattled. But you also want to give them a shout-out because they've been a big role in that number.
I want to point out, and I was having this discussion with someone this week, and in the offseason, everyone was, and we recruited a lot of them, JUCO this, JUCO that, and, there's been a couple of grad transfers, but if you look at the team and the guys who are having success really week in and week out and making plays, all guys are on this team last year. Everyone, I would point out that, dealing with Neal and in the passing game's kind of just weird. Pelini's been a really big addition. He was a grad transfer though, so it's a little different. So everyone's talking about the JUCOs and stuff, but the guys that were here last year haven't had their positions taken by them. The DNs have played well. Hunter is not giving his position up to, obviously, Ernest Banger's rotated in a lot. I think he's gotten a lot better, kind of throughout the year, especially against the run. Tim Bonner, we're seeing him, a little bit more in pass situations. But, the guys that were here, everyone that started last year and played has really taken a step forward this year. I mean, a lot of people, Hunter Snyder's had a huge year. Every defensive back that's has a pick this year was on the team last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what does that kind of say? I mean, they were young and they just keep getting better. And the good news is out of the secondary, only one has gone after this year. So they're here to stay for a while. And then there's some good ones kind of waiting in the wings. Just rotating in and out. So it's just been a lot of fun. It's one of the positions I enjoy watching the most. It's great DB play, and it's underappreciated passing offenses we see today.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, I guess we'll kind of move on from that. Like I said, we're going to talk about North Texas, who last week said that they had their biggest conference game in Apogee history. They narrowly beat UTSA. If you haven't seen the highlights of that game, you should. You should follow Conference USA on YouTube. They tend to post all the highlights pretty quickly after games, and they're pretty. They normally like 8-minute highlights. They're not like 30-second highlights. And so if you didn't see it, North Texas was pinned on the 3-yard line with like 1 minute and 7 seconds left, and no timeouts, and they came back and won. And that's like that. I related it to our Wyoming game in Charlie Partridge's first year, and it's a pretty brutal way to lose for UTSA, but it's instilled a lot of confidence in the UNT fans who come over to the Owl's Nest, which it's been kind of fun. There's been some good banter going on, which we haven't seen between two teams very often. And so North Texas comes in, they're 4-2, 3-0 in the conference. FAU 3-3, 2-0 in the conference. They seem to have they solidified the quarterback position in Mason Fine, who I think started most of last year, if not all of last year. And they've got some playmakers. You guys can talk a little bit about them, but it's a big game. Best, I guess, the best in the East and best in the West, and it's shaping up to be a pretty good week. I think FAU was slightly favored. I think when the line first came out, I think we were 6-point favorites, and now it got down to 3. By the time it gets to the game, it's going to be pretty close. So,
I mean, anything in college football, I believe, around the 2.5 mark, it's essentially just a home field. So, I mean, a 2 to 3 point spread is basically a pick 'em on a neutral site. So, I mean, 5 o'clock kick, you can't ask for, much better than that. Homecoming, it's like people have said, the biggest conference game in FAU history. I mean, this team is talented, though. I said before, their quarterback's going to be a lot more careful with the ball. It's going to be really hard to get him to throw 4 interceptions. I'll prepare myself, not to get frustrated with it. But they are going to get yards. They're going to pick up first downs. Jalen Guyton is a Notre Dame transfer. So he's dismissed from Notre Dame, went to JUCO, went there. So he's a highly, highly talented player, originally from Texas. They're going to try and get him the ball. They're going to probably do a lot of what Middle Tennessee did with us and some of their success. They're going to try and, bunch the receivers. Since they play man, they're going to run as many picks and cross, and they're going to, try and get guys open that way. I think the goal for FAU this game is, get play, and then again, you'll see you get frustrated with the 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7s, but don't get beat deep. Make the quarterback go 45 times, and hopefully we can force them into 3 or 4 mistakes, which is going to be more difficult than the last 2 quarterbacks we've seen. It's going to be a real big test, but that's how we're going to play. But just expect they're going to put up points. It's nothing on our defense. They're a really talented team as well. I mean, they've put up points on everyone they've played so far.
Yeah, Shane, I'm really happy you pointed out Jalen Guyton, because I mean, that kid is just a baller. He's definitely one of the best receivers in Conference USA. 7 touchdowns already this year. He averages like 20 yards per catch, something ridiculous. Caught an absolute bomb for the Mean Green's 2nd touchdown against the Roadrunners last week. Fine. I mean, he's getting the job done over in Denton, man. Only threw 5 picks this year, so you're absolutely right. It will be a lot harder to force interceptions against him. I agree with you wholeheartedly that we just got to force maybe just 1 or 2 3 or 4 bad throws and make the most out of those. Try and turn it over when we can, because they are going to move the ball on us. It's going to be rough. They average 37 points per game. The stat that I thought was interesting was that they convert 40% of their third downs, which is something that is just ridiculous. We would die for that, man. I feel like that's been our weakness, really. Even before going into Middle Tennessee and Old Dominion, and now afterwards, we can still see that as a bit worrisome. So we're going to have to contain them. They're going to get yards, man. It's going to be frustrating. But you've been saying it all year. I give you credit, dude. Bend, don't break. That's the kind of defense Chris Kiffin has been running for a while now. And so far this conference play, it's been working. So
I don't even like to say bend, don't break. Bend, don't break is a lot of, let them go down there, kick the field, make the play, give up yards. I think it's, if you don't let the big play and you bend until you kind of break them, they're going to make a mistake. If you force a quarterback, I don't care who, to put it in the air X amount of times that you're saying, with our really athletic DBs, they're going to make plays eventually. Just the statistics say. What I'm kind of curious to see with Guyton is, since we do play so much man, are we going to trail him with, as one corner, maybe going to trail him the entire game? It's curious to see our two best corners, Shelton Lewis and Raquan Williams. Will they kind of just go with based on what side of the field he lines up, or maybe you take your best senior corner and see if you can run with him, or Shelton Lewis, your big physical corner, and maybe match him up the whole game, or just based on where he lines up, that's who takes him. I'm kind of curious. I think that's something to really look for early in the game, is to kind of see how they're playing, if they're shifting to safety. But their quarterback's a tough kid, and against UTSA, threw for 366 yards, so and ran for some. He's small, but
he can throw. I mean, if you watch him in the game, he certainly he's not just out there. He was slinging it around. He had some pretty nice passes. One of the passes to Guyton in the UTSA game was it's beautiful. It was perfectly thrown. So it's not as if he's kind of one-dimensional. He's pretty decent. Cyrus said he's the best quarterback in the conference.
Yeah, and
looking like,
honestly, these are the two best coaches in the conference.
Yeah.
Seth Luttrell comes off a really good staff from North Carolina. Had all the success there at North Carolina, and again, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We were kind of going around Conference USA. He took over a team that went 1-11 and had a 59-point loss to an FCS school. And the next year, they win 5 games, in his first year, and they're taking that next step forward. So, these are two, Lane Kiffin's so young, Seth Luttrell's young. These are two young, innovative minds in the game. I mean, obviously, if both these coaches kind of both remain on this trajectory, they're going to both be coaching at, major schools here in the next couple of years. So, Seth Luttrell is, I think, far and ahead of Stockstill or Wilder or any, kind of the older coaches that have been in Conference USA. He's a really good football coach. So, we're not going to – I think in the last couple of games, I think Lane just, in a lot of ways, flat out coached the other guys, and that's going to be tough here, so.
I think we'll certainly need – Driscoll can't throw for 97 yards if we're going to win this game. I think eventually, as the year goes on and as the games get bigger, we'll need more out of him than terribly overthrown passes, easy passes. I think that's something to keep an eye out. We'll need a little bit more from him, and I don't think we have to worry about the run game very much. I did like the wrinkle of, and I know it's probably that Kiffin didn't want to put Parr in, even though he put him in for one play, but John Franklin III, I'm all for getting that guy as many touches as possible, because he is so fast. He's one of the fastest guys in the conference. Just give him the ball, and like the touchdown he scored was just it was at the end of the game, but it was easy. Like he was untouched, and so I'd like to see him get more touches. But I think Driscoll's definitely gonna have to be better this game for us to win.
Yeah, Driscoll's gonna have to play better. It would be nice to see Franklin get in there and play some wildcat, maybe even throw it a couple times. That'd be cool to see. We're still going to have to run the ball 55 times. It's still going to be a necessity if we're going to want to have really any chance at this one. Go ahead, Chin. You're about to say something there.
Well, again, North Texas, they've kind of talked about how good their defense is. And this,
there you go.
Everyone says that until they face our Russian attack. It's they kind of get punched in the mouth by it in our line. I think everyone kind of underestimates another good, G5 running back. We've seen this before, but I think Motor excels above that. Ido Smith, who is one of the other top running backs, maybe the top running back in Conference USA West, averaged 7.9 yards a carry against North Texas. The issue was he only carried it 13 times in this game versus USM. If you kind of look at the box score of that game, I didn't watch it, but Southern Miss went up early on them, and for some reason they decided to throw the ball 42 times and give their running back, who's averaging 8 yards to carry, the ball only 13 times. We won't make that mistake. So, North Texas can talk about the run defense and, they slowed down Iowa and this and that. We've kind of heard that the last couple of weeks, how everyone's going to come in and stop Evan until they're like, oh, man, it's halftime and we have 250 yards on the ground. I expect it to be a high-scoring game. I don't – unless we turn over the ball, obviously, I don't expect them to stop our run.
No, especially when we keep that tempo up. I don't think that their fans are really ready for that. They mentioned, I've been reading some of their posts on GoMeanGreen.com that, they've seen an up-tempo offense in SMU. They gave up 54 points to SMU, and it really wasn't that up-tempo. They had the same amount of plays, and UNT only had the ball for like 4 minutes more. And going back to what you said, Ido Smith only ran it 13 times. They did hold UAB. That was interesting. They have a really good freshman running back out there. 75 yards rushing, but they only ran it 25 times once you get rid of the quarterback and his sacks and his carries. He only had a net of like 1 yard after all that was all said and done. And they still gave up 43 points. UTSA had 4.2 yards per carry, and sorry about it, but our running back core is 20 times better than UTSA's.
Yeah, I think after the last couple of weeks with UTSA, their loss to Southern Miss, maybe we kind of overrated that team.
I'm guilty of that, man.
Their big win is Baylor, and Baylor's 0-6. They beat them by a touchdown, so everyone's kind of hot on them. They won, they looked really good early, but UTSA. People were talking UTSA running the table 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Now you look at their big win, and it's like, maybe not that good. There's also just a factor, and you watch college football this week, and I think the bye week thing is a little overrated. I think good teams are good off byes, and bad teams are bad off byes. I think the extra week doesn't change your team. Maybe add or clean up a little thing. Lane said didn't even start to prepare for North Texas. They're just preparing for them in 1 week. Like any other team, I think most of the coaches were out recruiting across the nation. Which I kind of found interesting. Coast to coast recruiting this week happened, not just in the South Florida area. So I do think there is a lot of big game at home, down to the wire, emotional rivalry. Yep. You have to make probably like the second largest, one of the longest travels in the conference to play a team coming off the bye. That factors more into it. Just, what they probably poured into that game.
Yeah.
But, college football, as we've seen this weekend, is a funny sport. So I'm not going to buy too much into that.
Frick, I was going to say something and then I forgot. Yeah, I mean, and even UTSA there or North Texas, they're 3-0, but they narrowly beat. Was it UAB or Charlotte?
UAB.
Yeah, which UAB is
fine. They're
well.
surprising.
But it's not as if they're out there dominating, and not that I'm saying. We kind of have been dominated, but like you mentioned, the homecoming game, I think we'll have, at least for the first half, anyway, we'll have a pretty sizable crowd. The 5 p.m. start I think will definitely help with that. So.
Yeah, and just, the schedule felt nice. We didn't have back-to-back home games all week, so then we had like a big win, and then like a full 2 weeks to build into homecoming. They started some of the homecoming stuff like a week and a half. I know, Dan, you're on campus, so you probably get a feel of that, but I looked at the homecoming schedule, and some of the stuff was starting, this past Wednesday. So it was almost like a week and a half homecoming to kind of build that stuff. I know Athletics posted Instagram thing today about student tickets, and they had a message on there saying they expect students to probably maybe sell this game out. I think kind of all the things are right for attendance to be a nice attendance. Which I tend not to worry about so much as I did a few years ago. If you look across the country. And you read other message boards, I mean, outside of maybe your top 20 major programs, everyone's out there talking about how they can get more people to the game. Those situations. I mean, USF, top 25 program, and Charlie Strong's begging go into the mayor of Tampa to get people to go to the game. UCF on campus stadium, they're sitting there wondering why they don't have like another 10,000 people, going to their games. I think it's just kind of a product of 2017 and technology. And, I spent this bye week at home just watching 100 football games on 4 different platforms. And it's nice, it's like a laptop, 2 TVs, you're just like, well,
that's heaven, man. That's
nice. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably going to do it for this. Again, it's going to be it's nice that we're in October, mid-October, and we can still be playing some important football, and not be worrying about can we get to 5 wins, which I guess I guess our mindset has changed. We should take a step back, but it's nice that we'll be watching some exciting, meaningful football this weekend and in our stadium. I mean, this is, I don't know, maybe like the last 2 games, last 2 home games of the Brian Wright era, where you're trying to get to 6 wins. I think it was, I can't remember the last one was FIU, but it's nice that this is happening.
Yeah, it's finally exciting stuff. It was New Mexico State and FIU are the teams you were thinking about.
Yeah,
and,
yes.
When it came to conference play, I think it may be 2010, the last year at Lockhart. Around October, we were still kind of looking alive. Had big wins over Louisiana Lafayette and FIU before we tanked. It's exciting, man. I mean, the hype is building. Homecoming always has a good crowd, but this is something different. This is something genuine. It's not just fake fans coming around for the first game of the year to see new head coach or to see University of Miami or whoever it might be. This is genuine. This is real excitement. So it's great to see for once.
All right. I guess that'll about do it for tonight. And so thanks for Jack. Thanks for Shane for being on with us. Hopefully we're coming back next week 3-0, leading all of Conference USA. But we'll see how it goes, and we know we'll enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoy it too. And we'll see you next week. Go Owls. Bye.